Welcome to the Michigan Short-Term Rentals podcast. My name is Tony Stancato here with my co-host, Jordan Painter. What's up, man?
Yes, sir. August 1st. It's the first of the month, baby.
Let's go. How was your
Yeah.
weekend?
It was good. Yeah, it was good. I had a birthday party for my son, 13, which is crazy.
Two teenagers.
Two teenagers. Yeah, we had a bunch of his buds over at night and then came to my office for the UFC fight. So it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, we had some birthday celebrations too, except for mine's only turning 5, so got a little ways to go.
Oh my gosh, dude, enjoy it. Yeah, I'll take 5-year-old temper tantrums over teenage problems.
Yeah.
Days out of 10.
Yep. So today we wanted to do kind of a mid-year check-in on lessons learned this year. So we have seven things that are just some mid-year lessons. And mid-year lesson number 1 is I love pools, man. Before this year, we have not managed a property with a pool. And this year we are managing, co-hosting 3 different properties, all with pools. And we just listed a pool, what was it, 2 weeks ago? And I mean, that thing just came out of the gate, dude. I don't know if I think it was like, hey, there's no inventory of anything, but then it also has a pool. So, I mean, I want to say it's 25,000 in revenue already in 2 weeks. And I think they've gotten like 13, 14 bookings already. So pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, that's awesome. We have personally been trying to buy a house with a pool since we started, pretty much either lakefront or pool, and we've been unsuccessful. And now, obviously, with representing a lot of clients, we're getting them first crack at them. And we've been a little bit on the fence. I'll be really curious to see how they do. We've passed on several of them for ourselves because we've kind of felt like the privacy issue. A lot of the ones that we found are in neighborhoods, and we worry about the noise and the neighbors. One of our clients did buy one in New Buffalo. It's really perfect. It's private and out there. That would have been one we probably would have leaned more towards. But I'll be very curious to see over the summer how those do and if we get complaints from the neighbors with people being too loud. But super excited to see that they are successful, because maybe at some point we'll be able to acquire one ourselves that has one, now that it's, we're kind of seeing the results. So
yeah, the one in New Buffalo is on 4 acres, and it also has a hot tub. So definitely a cool little spot. And I think with the hot tub, it should do well all the way into the winter. And again, just in a great location where you can kind of, I don't know, get out and you don't have to worry so much about quiet hours and that kind of stuff. So actually the first guest is checking out here in like 45 minutes at that property. So far so good. No real, nothing. They haven't really said too much while they were there. So I think it went well, but you're always nervous on that first review. So hopefully it comes in good, and next one checks in, I think tomorrow I think tomorrow. So
yeah, you always know how to get your Tony's blood pressure is going to skyrocket when several days before the first check-in, the pool level is down a foot, it's green. So that's always an adventure. But sounds like it was
yeah. On that one, we actually 5 days, I think, before check-in, the pool, I go over there just to do a walkthrough, and the pool is down a foot, and then it looks like more like a swamp than it does a pool. And I'm like, there is no way this is going to be ready. First of all, you have no idea why the water's down a foot, right? So luckily the pool company was super responsive and came over and took care of it. So, I couldn't believe from one day to the next, from going from like swamp to like pristine, I want to dive right into this type pool. I couldn't believe what they did. So
yeah, frog's not included with a rental. So
yeah. So number 2, real estate is forgiving. I'm just thinking of a property earlier this year that client bought. It was going to be a flip. Didn't end up getting the price we wanted, but we had a midterm rental cross our desk that was going into peak season. So a lot of the other properties that we manage aren't interested in midterm rentals for the summer season. And this was our first insurance rental. So the guest or the tenant had a fire at their primary residence. Now the insurance company is looking for a property for them to be able to stay in, preferably fully furnished. And so we got a really good elevated rent rate for that property. And it was supposed to be for like 3 months. It's probably going to be closer to 8 months. And again, just getting really good rents. So by the time that lease goes through, the owner should make a pretty good return just in rent, and then should be able to relist it. And I think when we list it, we'll be able to say, hey, like, check out the rent it's gotten over the last 8 months, right? I mean, and people will be like, what the heck, it gets that much money. And I think we'll be able to get closer to the sale price, if not a little bit more than what we had asked for in the spring. Again, spring was felt a little bit slower too, but right now, I mean, real estate in Southwest Michigan or just in general seems to be going gangbusters again. So
yeah, it's cranking, and that particular property has it's got a few things about it that aren't super appealing, just the way it's set up, and as far as the proximity to some of the neighbors and stuff like that. And I mean, what do you think that would go for normal long term?
like, how much rent would it get
Yeah.
for long-term rental? I mean, that particular property, I would say, would be somewhere between like maybe 1,300 and 1,600.
Yeah.
I mean,
and we're getting what, 31 or 3,500?
3,300.
3,300 a month. So
Yeah.
well over double what the normal rent would be. So getting creative for people and trying to find ways to maximize profit. I think that particular tenant kind of came along at the same time they were thinking about accepting an offer, and with what they offered, the insurance company offered to pay for that one, it was kind of a no-brainer for them. So yeah, it's incredible if you're kind of patient and you market things the right way, what kind of income you can pull. So
Absolutely. So yeah, just a reminder, real estate can be very forgiving as long as you kind of have that long-term mindset. How many people bought a property and went down in value? Like, think about the worst real estate crash in history, right? 2008. I mean, I guess I don't know if that's in history, but definitely definitely the worst crash in our time. And real estate is well above what it was pre 2008 at this particular point. So even if you would have rode the dip out, you'd be in a pretty good spot right now.
yeah, a lot of people took a lot of losses during that time that, if they would have just been patient and waited it out. But hindsight's 2020. So you just never know. How you never could have known at the time how quickly and how dramatically things were going to change. So number 3, we're going to just double and triple down on this one. Yeah. HOAs for short-term rentals. What do you think, Tony?
Yeah, so we got our first short-term rental that is in an HOA, and it just reaffirms, when we built out our calculator, we had a very heavily weighted negative score if it's in an HOA. So basically, it's almost impossible if you use our calculator to get a passing grade if you're in an HOA. Because we didn't like HOAs, and the one we're managing now just reaffirms that we don't like HOAs. Been a couple issues already with the HOA, but I mean, there's just a lot of rules and regulations. With this particular HOA, it's like, hey, the booking has to be we have to submit a bunch of paperwork for each booking that comes in, and we have to submit it prior, like 10 days in advance, no later than 10 days in advance. So if a booking comes in 5 days out, you can't technically rent it to them. Garage door, no more than 2 cars at the property, and they have to be parked in the garage with the garage door shut. So just a lot of little stuff like that just like annoys the crap out of me. So and 7-day minimum. I mean, and there's a lot of there's other places that you do a 7-day minimum, but yeah, just annoys me a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like people who are attracted to the HOA boards, they're like the past hall monitor at school that just loves to have control over people and flex their authority because they suck at life and other areas. The other problem, one of the things that is concerning for us is even if some of them have relatively loose policies, the problem is all it takes is one hall monitor to come in and start trying to change rules and add new rules. So we looked at one for a client in South Haven this last year, and they were in the process of changing some of the rules, and they were going to add on something like an 8% charge to, it was 8 or 10%. It was pretty high to the owners in order to do it. So they were going to allow it, but then they were going to, take a big chunk of the money. And when you look at, especially for us, exit strategy is huge in these things, and future value comes into play. And when you talk about what a property is worth, especially when it's an investment property, you're able to sell these things for multiples more than you could as just a normal house. And if you got people chunking away at your ability to increase the profitability, it can cost you a substantial amount of money when you go to sell it. And those are the things that you just can't control with an HOA. If they change the rules, the townships are already cracking down enough to where that's enough of a wild card. To add in another one like an HOA can just really be difficult. So unless it's an area, I think the only argument to that would be if it's an area, I think of what's a place in Missouri you go to,
like
Branson. Place in Branson where their economy is structured around, short-term rentals and vacationers. There's some exceptions to that rule where the HOAs are going to be more friendly, but in most areas, especially in Michigan, there's just a lot of potential negatives that can impact the ability to produce income. So.
Yeah. So, and we've seen some people in the group too that have mentioned that they will never, the Michigan Vacation Rentals Facebook group. If you're not in that, make sure you head over there and join that. But we've seen some comments in there too where people own vacation rentals in HOAs, and I mean they kind of echo the same thing of like, probably won't ever buy in an HOA again. So.
Yep.
All right, number 4, growth doesn't have to be hard. So, I mean, we were just talking the other day, and it's like our July numbers are about equivalent to all of last year's numbers. And I'm not saying it's not hard to get to where we are. Definitely has been quite the journey. But a lot of times when you think about growing a business and stuff, you think about, just sales and marketing, pounding the doors, pounding the pavement, trying to really make stuff happen. And it just seems like it's kind of organically happened a little bit. I mean, there is a little bit of going out. You've had some previous relationships with people that have become clients. But then even like we've gone to meetups and we've gotten clients from meetups, just like, I don't think we went there to get clients and we got clients. And then, we hire a stager who then ends up buying like 3 houses super fast, right? And becomes clients that way. So growth doesn't have to be hard. And I think sometimes when you get in that mindset of where it's like, man, it's going to be hard to grow a business, it's going to be hard to do that, it can kind of stunt your growth or, prevent you from taking action. So that's just a little something that's been in my mind is, I feel like we've come a long way really fast. And there's been a lot of organic growth within that's been pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'd say the one thing that limits your scale of growth is people. It's having the right people in place. And I think also, just taking care of your clients. And we've been very careful not to grow so quickly that we can't keep up on the people side. And so we've referred quite a bit out this year. We've turned away quite a few this year that kind
turned away a pool house,
Yeah, we've turned away a lot this year just that don't fall into the target market that we have. And not only because they maybe don't meet the kind of the projections that we want to see, but also just we want to, if we're going to pull something on, it's going to take us away from providing a premium experience for someone else if we don't have the people in place. So as we're scaling and finding the right people, we're just being very careful to grow the management side, on pace with the people that we find. So it's been a lot of fun, and it's an adventure, and I can't wait to see what next year brings, just based on what we've had as far as growth this year. So excited to continue to do that and find the right people. And so I might as well shout out right now. Right now we've got enough people coming into us seeking our guidance on the real estate side of things. We're actually going to be putting some work into finding a buyer's agent. And so if you're listening to this, or if you know someone in the Southwest Michigan area, kind of the center of where we're operating right now in that regard is that St. Joseph, Stevensville area. You know somebody that is hungry and is excited about short-term rentals in that area that also happens to be a licensed real estate agent, reach out to us. We'd love to have a conversation about that and find the right people and help plug them into our clients.
Absolutely. All right. Number 5, higher revenue properties does not equate to more work. You know, I think sometimes it's like, oh, if you're going to manage this really premium product, you think there's going to be a lot of extra effort and it's going to take a lot more bandwidth. And that's just not proven to be the case. And sometimes it's almost the opposite. So I would just caution against, you know, when we have a property that, I mean, does very well. I mean, it'll do more in 1 month than most properties will do in an entire year or multiple years, right? And the type of clientele that attracts I mean, it blows my mind. Sometimes it's like they check in, check out, like no questions asked. Like, I mean, and if there is questions, it's usually a couple quick questions. Now, don't get me wrong. There's been people where it's like they want to know every single detail. But I think that's a little bit more of the outlier than it is the norm. So, yeah, it's just mind blowing. And then kind of sometimes on the lower end stuff, you get a lot more questions, you get a lot more pushback. Like, I don't know if I've really gotten nickeled and dimed on the property that, you know, it's going to be tens of thousands of dollars for the week. Nobody asks for a discount. And then we'll have a property that's like $150 a night, dude. And it's like, hey, can I get, you know, 15, 20% off, you know? And it's like, you know, no, because there's not really a lot of meat on the bone anyway, right? So, yeah, it just blows my mind kind of looking at the opposite ends of the spectrums and which ones are actually harder to manage.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think there's two things to comment on there for me is one is we really work hard to provide the exact same experience for somebody booking at 150 a night as we do somebody booking at 3,000 a night. And so, you know, if you're providing this, you're treating everybody the same. Obviously, the amenities might vary between a 30K a week property and a, you know, 150 a night. But it's interesting, people paying $30,000 to stay in a house for a week that are happy and easygoing, and it's not as much, you know, work as you'd think to keep them happy if you're already providing a premium experience. And yeah, again, I'm trying to remember the one that we had at our Stevensville two bedroom, 1 bathroom. One guy that was just, he was trying to get discounts. He was upset, all kinds of stuff. And I can't remember what it was, but I remember just thinking like, dude, you're never, one of the first issues with a property we had, and Tony is losing his mind. His blood pressure is through the roof. And I'm like, dude, you're never going to make them happy. Just let it go. Right? You can't always make people happy. And I think that was probably, that one person was the lowest, most negative review we ever had. And it was over the silliest, stupidest stuff. I don't remember if I don't know if you remember what that was about exactly, but it was ridiculous.
Well, so what happened on that one was technically I had just changed the name on one of our properties. So it was too similar to this other one. So when he reached out and inquired about it, I accidentally thought he was talking about a different property. So I was talking as if it's this property. And apparently him and his wife I was like, hey, I'm sorry. It's like, I misspoke. Sorry. What I said wasn't accurate. Here's, and apparently that started a fight between him and his wife. And I'm like, dude, if that caused you guys to get into a tiff, like, got more problems than, this property. But yeah, he wrote a laundry list of, things that made him unhappy during his stay and all that stuff. And, the best thing you can do in that case is, give it a good day or two before you respond, get some good space between the event and the response. But yeah, just again, apologized for the inconveniences and all that, and then moved on. But yeah, lowest, like, yeah, it was not a very big booking, and he was pretty uptight. So, but you're gonna have that, you're gonna have that, and I think it doesn't matter even across like some of the more expensive stuff. If we get 100 guests in there, we're gonna get that person in there as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So, number 6, automate. One of the things that we've really been doing this year is kind of looking at what are we continually doing manually, like, and then looking at that and saying, how can we automate that? How can we stop that? If we're getting a lot of guest questions on certain things, it's like, okay, is there a way? Like just yesterday, right? I think I reached out to you and I was like, hey, we're getting a lot of guest questions about, and we already have the information on the listing, but it's like, I don't know if there's just too much content, too much words, or they don't know where it's located on the listing. But it's like, hey, how far to here? How far to here? And it's like, okay, it's all right there. Let me go grab it, copy and paste it, and give it to you. And then one thing that drives me nuts about Airbnb is you can't copy it on the actual app itself. So you have to pull up Airbnb, the website, and copy and paste it. But so one thing we did there was, all right, well, let's create a picture or that kind of says all that, and we'll include it on the 6th picture. So like number 6 in the listing, you're going to see, hey, here's where everything's at, dude, and provide like 15 different things. Like, hey, here's how far it is to South Haven, to New Buffalo, to the grocery store, to, some of the cool events in the area. So like in that instance, can we prevent some of that guest communication, some of that outreach? Not that we don't mind communicating for that stuff, but there is, like, we keep getting some of the same things, and it's how can we reduce that a little bit? And then one of the big ones for us, and I know you did it on a kind of small scale, which was still probably super annoying, but it's door locks, right?
Door locks. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, now we have, I don't know, man, 20 door locks, 25 door locks, and it's like, dude, setting those things and making sure you have them set, and then like going in, and luckily before peak season, we kind of connected to some automation on that. So now it's like, hey, all those door locks are set automatically at specific times before and after they stay. So it'll unlock a couple hours early and stay, active a couple hours after they leave. But now it's like, I don't have to worry about, I do still double check because I do freak out, like, hey, let's do a spot check once in a while, make sure that they are indeed set. So I'll, a couple days out of the week, I'll still go in and just make sure. But that's been a lifesaver. And just, we've done it on one set of locks, but then we also have different kind of locks at different places. So just set up the other ones yesterday. So even pushing the automation a little bit further and making sure don't have to do, that on the other properties as well.
Yeah, one of our big things for clients is security. And so if you have one code that you have on a property for multiple stays or multiple years, there's all kinds of people that potentially could have access. We like to switch those codes between each guest. And yeah, our first property that we had, when we originally set it up, I was given the task of setting up the key box, and I was the only one. We couldn't figure out how to do it again. I was the only one that had access to it. So yeah, Alan would give me this list of stays every month, and I'd have to go through. And then I'm out Friday night, and we get a last minute booking, and I'm getting text messages to quick set this code, and it is a lot of work for one property. So I can't imagine doing it for 20 or 25 doors or whatever it is that we have now. So yeah, that's a huge one. So what other automated things would you say would be worth looking at?
Yeah, so some of the other things that we do, so we use a guest communication tool, and basically we can have it set up like, hey, one thing that we get is, hey, can we check in early? So we've set up kind of an automated response where if they ask anytime before their stay, it's going to automatically send them a pre-written message that's going to say, hey, thanks for inquiring. Like, it's likely, as long as we don't have any guests checking out that day, it's likely we'll be able to get you in a little bit early, but we really won't know until, a day or two before your arrival. So then we put it back on them. Usually it's like, I'll tell them, yeah, I'll let you know a couple days, but then that puts it on me to remember to follow up with them. So I just put it back on them and say, hey, please check back 24 to 48 hours before your arrival, and we'll know more then. So, and same with firewood. We get a lot of firewood questions. So automatically created a fire. Anybody that mentions firewood, it's like, hey, here's, it's not guaranteed that firewood's going to be at the property, but there may be. But also, there are plenty of gas stations and roadside places that have firewood nearby. And then I also say, hey, one of the big things is like, you're not supposed to transport firewood, so make sure you're not bringing it from your state to our state. And I give them a little blurb about, not transporting firewood. So automating some of the responses to some of that, and then just the guest communication in general, like check-in instructions, checkout instructions, all that. I mean, that's pretty basic stuff, but we automate all that as well.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a balance of automating enough to where you're efficient and effective, but not over automating it where it feels like a robot's on the other end. So I think it's a pretty fine balance. But at the end of the day, stuff like that, if people have answers to the questions they have, then they feel like they've been served well. So that's good.
Yeah. And the next one will be automating the thermostats. I think a big one is, I mean, shoot, people love to crank up the heat in the winter and crank up the AC in the summer, and then they leave. And, it's just, I feel like that's a big opportunity to cut down on some costs. So one thing, that the system that we use for the lock automation, it'll actually connect with the thermostats, and then it'll set it just before the guest gets there so it can get comfortable for them. And then once their checkout happens, it will go to a different setting so that we can save some money.
Yeah, that's awesome. Anything else that's worth mentioning?
I don't think so.
Yeah, we'll do a whole new podcast on that with all the tools we use and the resources at some point to add that value to people listening. So I think the other one that we're really seeing this year is, as far as that goes, is the bar continues to be raised higher and higher. And so when we bought our first one, we've told this story before, but it still cracks me up. When we bought our first vacation rental in the area and we're looking at what is available and what our competition was, one of the ones that stood out to us, first of all, almost none of them had professional photography. Very, very few of them did. But one of them had some dude bending over doing gardening work in one of the marketing photos. So it's like, man, this is not going to be hard to look better than that. And so we're seeing more and more of these rentals coming on. People are really doing a good job getting them furnished. They're really knocking it out of the park with design. The photos are good. So we're really seeing that bar continue to raise. And so if you're going to get into it, you got to be ready for it. So do that market research, see what the competition's doing. In my real estate business, we have a department called the R&D department. It's rip off and duplicate. And so, find something somebody's doing well, rip it off, duplicate it, make it better, and you just keep improving on those processes and what you're seeing in the market. And it's really important to do that if you're going to be getting into the game. And if you're already in it, you got to just keep innovating and continue to make your product better than the competition.
Yeah. So I think we've talked about it quite a bit, right? Where the experience is super important. But I think now more than ever, again, based on the mid-year stuff, 2 years ago, you could probably take grandma's house with the floral, 1970s wallpaper, and maybe it's coming back, I don't know, but you could take that house and you could list it, and everybody's coming out of COVID, you can't travel overseas, and everybody just wants to get out of their place and go hang out with friends and maybe a little bit of a safer environment. So you could rent out anything, you know what I mean? And nowadays that's just not the case. You might still be able to get some bookings here in Southwest Michigan because there's not a ton of inventory in July and in August, but you're not going to make enough with that type of product over that month and a half to really, survive in it. So really important. And then when it comes to a first class experience, we've talked about it a million times. Decor, the design and decor is super important. One of our clients is a designer and stager, and you can tell, and everybody raves about that, their places. And one's a 1 bed, 1 bath, but they keep a little book on hand. And I would say 90% of the comments in that book are about the design. And if you got the good photos, it's going to show that good design. And when it comes to a crappy, not updated property or this super well designed one, you're going to take the well designed one, man. People want to have a good space to hang out in. But then the other thing is just fun stuff. That's the other thing that same couple does well, is they always have a ton of fun things. I'm thinking about their pool house. So obviously you got the pool, but then you got the pool table, you got the ping pong, 2 Nintendo Switches in their property, tons of board games, foosball, and air hockey, and plenty of yard games as well, right? So, but they really take that fun in all those. The pool is obviously pretty expensive, but all the rest of it you could probably get for $3,000 or less. So
makes a big difference. And if the thing is, like Tony said, it with the ones that aren't updated and all that kind of stuff, you're scraping the bottom of the barrel. You're getting people who want discounts. You're getting people who don't want to pay a bunch of money. Like you're literally the last one to get booked and the least desirable. And I mean, I can tell you right now, like if my wife is looking for a place like that, like we're just not going. If that's what it is, like she's gonna pay a premium to get something nice, and if she can't find it, then we're looking somewhere else. And so you're not going to get premium guests if you don't have a premium option. So,
a lot of times they'll sense blood in the water, where it's like, hey, I noticed your property is still available this weekend, and it's like July, the weekend before July 4th, and they're like, hey, I noticed your property is available. Can you give me a discount? Because they're like, they know it's not a great product, right? And then they're gonna, hey, you need me more than I need you at this point, potentially, right? So
they're bringing 35 of their best friends to light off fireworks in your yard. So
let's go. So
oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I was just gonna say, just make sure the first class experience again. If you're gonna get in it and you're gonna half-ass it, and you're not gonna design it right, you're not gonna have fun stuff going on, you're better off just not doing it. Maybe finding a different type of asset class or different, long-term rental, or even a midterm rental. But it's gotta be fun. It's gotta be well designed. And I always talk about, again, hire the right people to do it. You're probably, if you think you're a designer and a stager, you're probably not. You know what I mean? Get somebody that are worth their weight in gold.
When you look at the long-term profitability for something that's designed better, I mean, if you could get I would argue it's probably a 15 to 25% bump if you have somebody like the stager design it versus doing it yourself. That doesn't take long to make up for the relatively small cost of just paying a professional. So that's big. The last one is something that I'll say Tony definitely excels at. And that is investing in yourself, investing in education, surrounding yourself, rubbing shoulders with people who are doing this at the highest level. And so, he's constantly going to conferences and meetups and different things, different opportunities to get around people who are at the top of the game. So,
yeah, absolutely. If where are you going to get your ideas from? Where are you going to get? I look back, and one of the biggest things that, one thing that's made a big difference for me in a different kind of asset class was literally I took a bunch of courses from this guy, but then this guy ended up sending me a free email, and just this one piece of content in that free email, again, it was education, but that one piece of content ended up making me a ton of money, because I was like, oh, that's a good idea. Let's try that. So you have to find people that are doing it at a high level, that are doing it well, rub shoulders with them, get in the same room with them, pay them to mentor you or coach you or whatever. Or hey, I'm going down to Bill Faith's boot camp in a couple weeks, right? So it'll be a weekend long of just sitting in a room with a couple hundred other people. I ended up getting the VIP ticket, so I'll be able to go have dinner with him and Avery Carl. Avery Carl she owns the short-term shop, and I think one of her episodes on Bigger Pockets was like one of the highest rated ones. So like they're doing it at a high level. All I need is one piece of information out of that 2-day seminar. And when we're managing 20 to 25 properties, like one piece of information out of there can have a dramatic, impact on our business, in our clients' business. So you always got to, again, try to set yourself apart from everybody else. And that's going to be through education, investing in yourself. Investing in yourself is going to be the biggest return on investment that you got.
Yep, that's it.
Awesome, man. Well, I think that's a wrap for today. Until next time.